credit Michael Saylor, the CEO of business intelligence software firm MicroStrategy, with getting Tesla electrified on crypto. Saylor, whose firm currently owns more than $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, tweeted Musk back in December, urging him to sink Tesla's cash into the alternative currency too, saying, quote, Elon Musk, if you want to do your shareholders a $100 billion favor, convert the Tesla balance sheet from dollars to Bitcoin. That tweet helped lead to Tesla's big disclosure yesterday. Michael Saylor, who believes other CEOs will soon follow Musk's high-profile lead, joins us now. Michael, fantastic to have you on the show. How should we view Tesla's decision and what it means for others?
Well, we're in an environment where the money supply is expanding at 15% a year or more, and we expect that to continue for the next 4 to 8 years. So for corporations that are cash rich, cash is the dilutive asset on the balance sheet. It's losing 15% of its purchasing power every year. So by converting a non-performing asset into the best performing asset, which is Bitcoin, they convert a dilutive asset into a accretive asset, and it's really good for shareholder value.
So you're basically saying you prefer to have volatile appreciation versus stable depreciation if the value of the dollar is falling?
I think that's well put.
But what about the risk profile of Bitcoin? I mean, if you're talking about treasury departments for these corporates, and Tesla perhaps is a separate issue, traditionally what they'd invest in is short-term instruments, hold it in cash because they want to preserve capital.
You know, the world before March of 2020 was a different world where we had low monetary expansion and high interest rates. And the world for the next 8 to 10 years looks like a world where we're going to have low interest rates, high monetary inflation, and it's nearly certain that cash on the balance sheet is going to lose 75 to 80% of its shareholder value. And so switching it out to a digital asset like Bitcoin, which has been going up more than 200% a year on average for the past decade, it might be short-term, a little bit volatile, and certainly it's new, it's a paradigm shift. But if you're looking out for the long-term interest of your shareholders, I think they would prefer that you double their money every 6 months than lose 75% of their money with a guarantee over the next 8 years.
I mean, do you think the Federal Reserve should be asking big questions of itself here, where it's a better investment decision to invest in an asset that's, 13 years old versus something that the government itself issues? I mean, I know this is part of the thesis why people are getting so excited about Bitcoin and those that believe that fiat currencies are being debased. But the Federal Reserve surely has to take action here when this is the argument we're making.
Well, you know, I think the story here is that Bitcoin is digital gold, and it's engineered to be like gold, but superior to gold in all aspects. And it's also the world's first digital monetary network. So imagine a block of $1 billion of gold that moves at the speed of light, that you can program 1 million times a second in order to provide a framework for the 21st century finance system. This is monetary technology. And just like all big tech, it's making financial systems more efficient. I don't think it's going to replace the dollar. I think that what's happening is Bitcoin is replacing gold as a non-sovereign store of value running on a big tech network.
How quickly do you think other corporates decide to invest in digital assets like Bitcoin? And do you recommend diversifying? It's not just about Bitcoin, there are other options.
It took us months to work through the issues, and we uploaded our corporate playbook for Bitcoin and open sourced it to the rest of the world, and now it just takes days. Last week, we had 7,000 different firms attend our Bitcoin for Corporations Summit. The materials have gone viral with 250,000 or more views in just a matter of days. And I think 1,000 companies adopted Bitcoin as digital gold after March of 2020, and there's a stampede on in 2021. So it's a story you're going to hear.
You know, if I look at you specifically, and you're a software company, and I look at your share price and I look at the price of Bitcoin, and the two charts basically match. And so I guess a critic would look at this and say, actually, your fundamental business now has become a sideline and you're a digital stock. What would your response be, Michael?
We have two strategies. One strategy is to grow our software business, and that is a good business, makes a lot of money, and it is growing. And our second strategy is to acquire Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the emerging dominant digital monetary network. It's going to be 100 times bigger than Google or Facebook. And when companies like Amazon plugged into the internet, you know, people didn't say, are you an internet company or a retail company? I think they're a technology company embracing the future. Everybody's eventually going to plug into a digital monetary network like Bitcoin, just like everybody eventually plugged into the internet.
But how do those two businesses connect that you're now in?
Every business has a P&L and it has a balance sheet. And if your balance sheet is sitting in US dollars that are yielding zero interest, losing 15% of their value, they're depreciating. And so every single business can convert their balance sheet from a depreciating asset to an appreciating asset. That's good for every shareholder. So look, if we're running a company in Argentina and I told you the peso was going to devalue against the dollar by 99%, every business in Argentina would be wise to convert their pesos into dollars on the balance sheet for the benefit of their shareholders.
And that's such a great point to make, though I do love how we're comparing the United States now to Argentina.
Well, you know, every company has a basic balance sheet currency, whether it's euros or dollars or something. The difference after March is that those fiat currencies are weakening at a more rapid rate. In essence, the cost of capital tripled after March. And so conventional treasury approaches that worked for a decade have to be reconsidered. And that's why you see 1,000 companies embracing Bitcoin as digital gold.